If you spend any time looking into getting a NAS, you've seen the same 2 or 3 boxes recommended everywhere. Synology, QNAP, maybe a TerraMaster if someone's feeling adventurous. And I want to be clear about something before I start. These aren't bad products. They work. The software is really good and people are happy with them. But I still think most of you shouldn't buy one. Because when you actually break down what you're paying and what you're getting and what happens 2 years later when you want to change something, the math stops making sense really quickly. So let me show you what I mean. The price is the first problem. Let's do the math properly because this is the bit that gets glossed over a lot. A 4-bay unit from a decent brand is around £500 and that's empty. No drives, zero storage, which is by far the most expensive thing. It is a box that cannot do the one thing that you bought it for yet. Now that's normal, everyone sells them diskless, which is fine, but hold on to that number of £500 while I keep talking. Because for that same £500, you can build a machine with the proper desktop processor, 16 gigs of RAM, a case with a room for 6 or 8 drives, and a motherboard with an actual expansion slots in it. Not similar performance, it's several times the processing power for the same money. And those hard drives cost the same either way. Hard drives are the expensive part of any NAS. You want to spend more money on storage than on the machine itself, regardless of which route that you take. So the Prebuilt isn't saving you money on the bit that actually costs the most money. It's charging you more for the bit that doesn't. And secondly, the processor is usually the weak link. Here's where it gets really specific. A lot of the cheaper units run ARM chips, the same family of processor units as your phone, which is fine for copying files and cloud storage. It's not fine though for anything else. No Docker in some of them, no virtual machines or VDEVs, and no video transcoding. Meaning, if you're using your NAS to stream something, like I'm using mine to run my own streaming platform, video in the top right corner if you're interested in that by the way, you won't be able to do that. But even the mid-range units have a problem, and I'm going to give you a real example because it's not the cleanest one that there is. The Synology DS920 Plus had an Intel chip with QuickSync in it. QuickSync is a dedicated bit of silicone in Intel CPUs that allows for transcoding. It's what makes Plex and Jellyfin able to convert a 4K film into something your phone can play without breaking a sweat. But its replacement, the DS923 Plus, moved to an AMD embedded chip with no integrated graphics, so it can't do that anymore. Same brand, same price bracket, next model along, which should be better in theory, but a very important feature just gone. And that's not me picking on Synology specifically, it's the whole category of pre-built NAS units in general. When you're buying a sealed box and what's inside of it is chosen by someone else, that means that that person is probably optimizing for their own profit margins, not for what you, the consumer, is going to do with it. And there's also the fact that you can't really upgrade it. This is the one that bites people a year later when they try and change something about the unit. The processor is soldered in. That's not going anywhere, ever. Whatever you bought, that's what you've got until you replace the entire thing. And also memory. You can technically upgrade it, and most people do, but check the fine print because several brands will tell you that non-official memory isn't supported. Meaning you have to buy the RAM, which is usually sold at a massive markup, or you're on your own if anything goes wrong, because that would usually void the warranty. And then there's the expansion slot, or rather, just the lack of one, meaning you can't really add RAM or upgrade that aspect of your case. I'll tell you what matters to me personally. On my build, the thing holding me back wasn't the CPU or the drives, it was the network. 1 gigabit is about 110 megabytes a second, and big files would choke on that. The fix was the £30 network card. I bought it off Amazon, came the next day, put it in, done. And on most pre-built units, you can't do that. There's no slot for you to upgrade it into. So the single cheapest, most effective upgrade you can make to any NAS is simply not available for you. And your only path forward, if you want to overcome this one obstacle, is to just buy a whole new box. And same story with drive bays. If you bought a 2 drive bay because it seemed like plenty, and odds are it wasn't because it never is, and the official expansion units cost about as much as a new NAS for a metal box with no computer in it. And then there's the one that really infuriates me, which is the drive lock-in thing. Right, this one deserves its own section because it tells you exactly how these companies think about you. Last year, Synology decided that on their new Plus models, you should have to use their drives. Not drives that they make, because they don't make drives at all, but rather drives that they buy from Seagate or Western Digital like me and you or everybody else, and then they put their own firmware on those so that you only use the ones that they give you. Same discs, but more money for them. If you try to put a normal drive in, you get warnings, you lose health monitoring, and you couldn't even create a storage pool or do a RAID build on hardware that you bought and now own. And for my gamers out there, I'm sure this sounds very similar to Sony's announcement about how they're going fully digital, where you, the consumer, is now locked into the merchant's rules and can't use games that they're not authorizing you to use. Now, naturally, with Synology, sales dropped very hard, and in October, they backed down and restored support to third-party drives. Sounds good, right? Except the restriction on M.2 SSDs is still there. If you want to add a cache drive, it's still their brand only. Their enterprise and rack mount line still enforces that strict list. And they have never said the restriction won't come back on next year's models, by the way. They just pushed it away to appease the current consumer base. So in that context, the situation is they tried, got caught, partially reversed it, and made no promise about the future. Because once again, when you buy something pre-built, you are locked into that brand's rules and regulations. And that company's goal isn't your satisfaction, it's their profit margins. And that's the one thing that you can never build around. When you own the hardware and someone else owns the software, a firmware update can change the rules of a device that's literally sat on your house. But nobody can put an update to a machine that you've built. And there's the stuff that no one really mentions, like a few more that don't get talked about enough in my opinion, is security. These boxes are one of the most targeted things in home tech. QNAP users got hit by 2 separate ransomware campaigns. Thousands of devices encrypted, ransom demanded, people's family photos just gone. And the reason is simple, it's a known device that's running on a known software. Those people are exposed to the internet because the setup wizard made it easy. When there are millions of identical units, the ones that you own out there, all it takes is a person to find one hole to get through everything, which is definitely worth a hacker's time. And there's the fact that support runs out eventually, like how with old iPhones don't get any Apple updates anymore. Every one of these machines gets dropped eventually, usually between 5 and 7 years, and the major OS updates just stop again. The hardware is completely fine, it just stops getting security patches that you need to keep going. And on a lockdown box, that's kind of it. My build runs QNAP, which is free, and gets updated for as long as I want to keep updating it. And if the unit itself dies, the drives are fine, your data's fine, but getting it back usually means buying another unit from the same brand to slide them into. But on a DIY build, if the motherboard dies, you just buy a motherboard from Amazon, 40 quid, same day, boom, done. And that pre-built machine might not even be the right device for you. This is the one I care about the most because it's the most common mistake I see people make when buying a NAS. People buy a NAS because they've heard the term NAS and then it turns out that they wanted something else entirely. If your plan is streaming films like on Plex or Jellyfin and you want to have your own setup for streaming, then the entire experience lives or dies based on how good your NAS is at transcoding. And if you buy a box without it, you'll find out the first time someone watches on their phone and it stutters into oblivion. That's not a bad NAS, it's just the wrong NAS for the wrong person. And if you just want your photos and videos somewhere safe, genuinely, you might not need a NAS at all. A mini PC with an N-series Intel chip is about 150 quid. It sips less power than a NAS and has a quick sync feature built in. And it'll run everything a home user actually wants. Plug some drives into it and done. You spend a third of the money and you've got more capable machine that's suited for you because it's a real computer that can do real computer things. The pre-built NAS is sold as the obvious default, but for a lot of you, it's the third best option on the list, not the best one outright. But I'm gonna play devil's advocate here a little bit because I'm doing you a disservice if I didn't give you the other side of the story. So here it is, honestly. The biggest thing is that they use less power. A little 2-bay unit idles at maybe 10 to 15 watts, but my build sits closer to 40. Over a year at UK energy rate prices, that gap is something like £40. Sounds like it kills my argument until you work it out. If the pre-built costs you £200 more upfront, it needs 4 years of running consistently without any errors or you needing to repair it for it to break even. By then, you've owned a slower machine that you couldn't upgrade for 4 years. Also, you can absolutely build a lower power machine if that's your priority. That's the whole point of picking your own parts and building your own thing. It can meet those criteria that you want. But then there's the software, which is genuinely really good. I'm not gonna pretend otherwise. Like Synology's photo app and their backup tools, the mobile apps, they're polished in a way that a free software often just isn't. If you want it to look nice, be user-friendly, and never think about it again, then that is the real value in buying a pre-built NAS. It's small, quiet, there's a phone number to ring if anything goes wrong or if anything breaks. If you're setting this up for your parents, that does matter because otherwise you're going to be a tech support that they're going to keep calling if anything goes wrong. So with that in mind, when should you buy one? There's 2 situations in my opinion, that's it. One, you genuinely don't want to build it. Not can't, because truly I do believe anyone in the world can build a NAS, and that's completely fine. Your Saturday is worth something, and you decide what it's worth. If the idea of picking parts, installing an operating system sounds like a huge chore rather than like a fun project, then yeah, dude, go ahead, buy the box, put drives in it, get on with your life. You've paid a couple £100 to skip an afternoon and enjoy your weekend. And I'm not gonna tell you what your time's worth. And the second one is, if you have your money. If a £200 or £300 markup doesn't matter to you, then yeah, do it, who cares? But here's the thing. If you're the sort of person watching a video like this and made it this far into the video, then you're kind of already halfway to building it. And that's the bit I want to stress, because it's the thing that stopped me for way too long because I thought it was complicated. But it is genuinely not that hard at all. I keep saying this on my videos, building a NAS is just the same as building a PC. Same motherboard in the case, processor in the socket, RAM in the slots, drive in the bays, power supply, cable, connect them, press the on button, and you're finished. If you build a gaming PC, then you know how to do all of this stuff already. And there's literally no extra skills required. No secret steps. The only difference is that the software you install is focused on storage rather than being a Windows OS. And I've even got a full build video link if you want to watch me do it from start to finish. It took me literally one day. And final thoughts is, look, buy the pre-built if you want the pre-built. I'm not here to make anyone feel stupid or bad for owning one, because there's nothing wrong inherently with a pre-built NAS. But I'm just saying, go into it knowing what the trade-off actually is, and if you're paying more for less power but for more convenience, in a box you can't change, running someone else's software, meaning that they control it, not you. And for some people, that's worth it. For most people watching this, I don't think it is. And like I said, build video is linked in the description. And if you like this video, subscribe. Thank you for your time and attention. It's a valuable resource, and I appreciate you giving it to me, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.